Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me. And I'm really excited to be presenting Rio Valley Charter School's very first ever Work It Out Wednesday. Work It Out Wednesday is going to be coming to you every Wednesday for the next 9 weeks while we get together and prepare our students for test taking strategies to get ready and start working it out for CASP. So during this time, we're going to be sharing new strategies, explaining how those strategies are used with examples. And then on April 12th, I invite you and your students to come down to the school site and take place in a mega test taking strategy session where we'll discuss all of these test taking strategies with more examples and have some more references and different things that we can do to really prepare and break down those nerves that a lot of students can start to feel around test taking time. So our first test taking strategy for Work It Out Wednesday, we're really excited to get started on, is going to be listening to the instructions and following all the directions, reading those directions. So I wanted to start with this one because it's a really important and very powerful strategy. A lot of times it can be difficult for our students if they're not listening to the instructions to do what they need to do to be successful on the test. So at the start of every test session, the proctor is going to give instructions for what to do with the test to get started. Following those instructions is going to increase the likelihood that they're doing the right thing from the very beginning. It's also going to lower that affective filter that they might have for anxiety. And it's also going to give them the opportunity to kind of settle in and just kind of prepare themselves for the test. The next thing that we're going to be talking about is reading the directions. And this is the one that we're going to be talking about most today, because this is the one where you're going to be able to kind of utilize this strategy at home, work through this strategy with your student over the next couple weeks, and really kind of develop a deeper understanding of reading directions with them so that they can get better at doing this in different ways to prepare. So every part of the test on CASP will have its own different set of directions. Whether that's math or ELA or science, every part will have its own little set of directions. Every time they come to a different question set, they'll have its own little set of directions. And sometimes even within certain question sets, they'll come up with its own set of directions. So making sure that they're following those sets of directions is going to be really important. So a couple examples that I have here. The first one is an ELA example. Is after reading the passage, answer the following questions based off the information provided in the passage. So the student needs to be able to read the entire passage, kind of following multi-step directions, and then answer the information provided, answer the information for the question based off of what they read in the passage. Sounds pretty straightforward, but if we're not answering the questions based off of the information in the passage and we're just kind of going off of what the question is asking us and it's multiple choice, we might be clicking something and not necessarily doing our very best work. So definitely something to consider when going over these questions with our students. For example number 2, we have using all of the information and data that you have gathered from previous problems, write an equation to help you solve for X or whatever variable. So this would be an example of a math problem that you might have. And this was one that I was thinking of when I was looking through some of the sample questions, would be more of a middle school to high school problem. And it would definitely be more in the task analysis, the task breakdown, where they give them multiple different parts. So a lot of these problems do have multiple different parts that they have to access. Once they access all of that information, then they do have to put all that information together. So being able to understand that there's multiple parts to these questions, that they have to put all that information together, is going to be really beneficial to them in understanding how to do that. So there's 2 examples of reading directions and then how they might be able to apply those directions while working through the test. So what does this mean for you and your student? Well, you can apply these every day. And it's really simple if you're working on worksheets or in textbooks to do this. Just having them read the directions on their worksheet out loud to you and reflecting with them. And that's going to be a 3-step process. So what I suggest is doing the discuss, model, and practice approach for all of the strategies that we're going to discuss or go over in this series. So discuss the strategy with the student. What does it look like? And how can it be utilized during testing? And then you're going to model it for them by talking through what you would do if you were actually using the strategy. And then have them ask you questions if they have questions. And then lastly, you're going to practice that strategy together. And when you're practicing that strategy, give them the opportunity to use it independently and then provide the opportunity to reflect on what went well and what they can do better next time. Okay. So for following or reading the directions on every single page that they're doing in their workbooks, reading directions in cookbooks, reading directions in all different things that you're doing throughout the day is a great way to practice this skill over and over and over again. Coming up to test taking, they're going to be super awesome at this. And I hope that you will all keep in mind to join us on April 12th. I look forward to seeing you there. And thank you for joining me. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.